This lesson in Module 2 will put together the nutrition and dieting fundamentals to create a plan for success. We may be able to be in a calorie deficit and lose body fat, but if we can't practice this one other thing, we may find ourselves in a pattern of yo-yo dieting. Let's talk about it. Here we go, jumping into another lesson here in the nutrition module, and this is all about mastering maintenance, which will be the number one skill to use in order to create success for the long term. There's a belief that dieting is simply about doing the same thing every day, and while it is true to some degree, the truth about it is that consistency makes change meaningful. And without consistency, we will be uncertain that our training and that our dieting methods are actually working. So consistency in doing the same thing every day is important. But over the long term, we need to know how to break up our weeks and months into smaller periods to prevent ourselves from going in circles. Long-term results come from several short-term plans. In this lesson, we're going to cover the exact short-term plans that you can use to be successful for your diet and create results that last. The ultimate tool of dieting for fat loss is going to be able to master maintenance. Because if you can lose 1 pound of fat during a calorie deficit, which are supposed to be short-term periods, when you go back to maintenance, you will never gain that fat again. So you can create results that last. Mastering maintenance will help us defeat yo-yo dieting, and it will help us feel good while losing body fat, which sometimes can be a hard thing to do. And I want to remind you, we are going to be focusing on getting the most results over the long term rather than the fastest results in the short term. This will help us not only feel more fulfilled and rewarded for the results we do create, but it can be a much more enjoyable process along the entire way. And since dieting and being in a calorie deficit is a hard thing to do, any way we can figure out to make it easier will be very helpful. To which I'm going to introduce you the zigzag approach. Because why do diets fail? Well, when we go on, say, a keto diet, when we go on any sort of fad diet, and we go and create sort of like short-term temporary fat loss, we have no plan for how to live when not losing body fat. What is your sort of structure? What is your approach for when you are done with that diet to prevent yourself from creating the same mistakes that you did in the past? The zigzag approach takes into account that calorie deficits are temporary, and we can create a plan that helps us practice both being in a calorie deficit and practicing maintenance in order to prevent ourselves from gaining weight ever again. This will also help us prevent what is known as the low-calorie dieter syndrome, because if someone is just constantly crash dieting, and they're doing that over a long period of time, you are going to lose muscle mass, but then also going to be very mentally and physically fatigued from all the time you spend dieting. With the zigzag approach, we're going to incorporate eating at maintenance and eating in a calorie deficit in order to ever prevent that from happening. So overall, the goal is for you to lose fat for the last time. The first method is easiest and it has the lowest risk of failure and rebound after your diet, but it does create the slowest results, so take that into account. What you're going to do is spend 2 days in your calorie deficit, eating in your lower amount of calories. You're still going to crush your protein, you're still going to aim for PRs in the gym every week, you're still going to get your steps in every day. But then after those 2 days, you'll spend 1 day eating at maintenance and eating a little bit more calories. For a happy medium, we're going to spend 4 to 5 days in your calorie deficit or in your lower calories in a row, and then spend 3 to 4 days at maintenance. And to break this down, that could be Monday through Thursday, you're spending 4 days in a calorie deficit, and then Friday through Sunday, you're eating at maintenance. You're eating a little bit more calories, which could even help you with living a lifestyle in which you may be more social. You spend those extra calories eating out if you need to, and it can help create just more of a sense of a balance while you're on a diet. And lastly will be the most advanced method with the highest risk of failure and rebound after your diet. I only really recommend this if you have ever done dieting before or you just genuinely enjoy the strict routine of kind of living like a bodybuilder. This one you spend 7 to 14 days, 1 to 2 weeks at lower calories, and then you spend 1 week at maintenance. I would also only ever recommend that if you don't have any other social commitments or other big events in life in which you can solely put health and nutrition as your number one priority in life. It's a very selfish way to do dieting, but it is effective. To review when creating your plan for kind of every day, the fat loss rules we need to follow. Number 1, eating your protein. Typically that's going to be your body weight times 0.8 to 1, and that's how many grams of protein you need to eat every day. And so if I weigh 160 pounds as my body weight, then I will need to eat at a minimum 128 grams of protein up to 160 grams of protein. If you want to eat more protein than that, that is completely okay. But remember, you still need to stick to a calorie deficit if you want fat loss to occur. But remember, calorie deficits are temporary, and we will need to practice eating at maintenance as well to prevent ourselves from gaining any weight back. You can choose to tolerate them as a fun challenge or almost as like a game to create just a little bit more meaning or fulfillment out of the process of dieting as well. For your calories in that day, you're going to multiply your body weight by 12 to 14. You need to track your calories to be able to be in line with reality as much as possible. When our expectations do not match reality, we will be demotivated. If you don't track your calories, how can you expect to see reality line up with the fat loss you want to see? I also recommend trying intermittent fasting and creating more of a structure around when you eat in order to make dieting a little bit easier. I will cover this in depth in the next lesson. Also, think about your diet not in a list of foods that are good or bad to eat on your diet, but that you can eat anything so long as you are still eating your protein and sticking to your total limited amount of calories for your calorie deficit. When we can do all of these put together, we can expect to lose around 2% of body fat per month. In terms of how many pounds of fat that will look like, that will vary from person to person. So try to just stick to thinking in terms of body fat percentages rather than pounds on the scale. So let's put this all together. Here's what 2 to 3 months could look like with using the intermediate zigzag approach. Again, I think the intermediate approach is one in which it is not super hard and has a high risk of failure or rebound, but it's one which you can also get a good amount of progress for the time you spend in a calorie deficit. The beauty of maintenance also means that progress sticks. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend first 2 weeks, 5 days in a calorie deficit, 2 days at maintenance. I think it would probably fit most people's lifestyle if they did Monday through Friday in a calorie deficit and then Saturday, Sunday at maintenance. Or it could be Sunday through Thursday in a calorie deficit, Friday, Saturday at maintenance. And you have a little bit more calories to eat on those days when you're doing things that are social. Just like any habit, the start is exciting, it's new, it's fun, you feel your best when doing it. You need to create a plan to still be successful when that kind of fades. So in weeks 3 and 4, instead of 5 days in a calorie deficit, you just need to spend 4 days in a calorie deficit and then 3 days at maintenance. Just a little bit less of a challenge, but you can still get good progress doing that. Then in week 5, if that first month was a little bit tough, you can spend 7 days at maintenance and take what is known as a diet break. This will actually help you master and practice eating at maintenance when you're done dieting and you're done in a calorie deficit. Being able to master maintenance again means that progress sticks and you won't ever gain excess body fat again. Then after that little diet break, you'll feel refreshed and renewed to crush the next 3-4 weeks. So you'll probably feel the most motivated right after that first week. Spend 5 days in a calorie deficit, 2 days at maintenance. Week after that, 4 days in deficit, 3 days at maintenance. The whole idea is that you don't need to spend every day of your diet in a calorie deficit. In fact, I recommend you don't, because when you can spend more days at maintenance as well, you get that practice of what you're going to do when you're done dieting, and you'll create results that last. And so in these weeks 9 through 12, you have 2 decisions to make. If you have a lot of weight to lose, then repeat weeks 1 through 8 if you're feeling up for it again. If you're getting to 15% body fat or below, go ahead and spend 4 weeks at maintenance and then repeat these 8 weeks again if you want to make more progress losing body fat. If you are someone that is looking to only gain size and a little bit more weight, then spend these calorie deficit days simply just in a calorie surplus. Now, a preview for next lesson to come. All diets work by reducing calories, and that is just a hard thing to do at times. That is the reality of dieting. It takes discipline and a sustained effort to be successful. However, relying on discipline or self-control alone is not the only way we can be successful on diets. So in this next lesson, I'll show you how to change the structure of how you eat, not necessarily the specific foods of what you are eating. This will help us look into more of a lifestyle change rather than a temporary shift in the foods we are specifically eating. Ultimately, at the end of this nutrition module, I hope we can find something that works for you, so long as we can still stick to those fundamentals of our diet and nutrition. Once we can understand those and also master eating at maintenance, we will truly create results that last.